The men tell all, and we have a guy here to tell it exactly how it is. Welcome to Playing the Field, the Bachelor podcast. I'm your host, Ryan Field, the sports anchor here at ABC here in New York City, coming to you today from our Zoom room. Everybody is spread out across the country today, but we still wanted to be here to deliver Playing the Field, all the latest news and updates from Bachelor Nation. Joining us, as always, our favorites, Jen Matarese, our Bachelor Insider from here in New York, and our Bachelor expert, Gina Sirico, out there at ABC in Los Angeles. And ladies, hello. And without further ado, we have to bring in our guest of honor. Mark is here, joining us from New Orleans. Is that right, Mark?
Louisiana, yeah.
Louisiana, okay. Somewhere down in the bayou, we could say. Thanks for being here today, my friend. And listen, obviously, your life has certainly taken a turn for the better since you joined Bachelor Nation, if you will. Obviously, it started with your daughter, but kind of take us through this process of how you ended up on the Golden Bachelorette. There's been some talks that you were a producer pick. Like, kind of give us a sense of how this thing all unfolded.
Yeah, absolutely. So Kelsey had applied and was accepted onto, The Bachelor for Joey's season. And I didn't really know too much about, I'd never really watched Bachelor. It just wasn't, I don't really watch a whole lot of TV. But Kelsey was selected to participate in the show, and she ended up making it to hometowns. And so we had her hometown down in New Orleans where she was at, and I guess it was like an internet sensation. It just turned out kind of a lot all of a sudden. But Joey and Kelsey are engaged, and got to go to the final rose taping, and it was quite the interesting experience. And then there was, while Kelsey was out filming the Bachelor season, the Golden Bachelor was airing on TV. So I'd watched that, and it was really interesting, to watch it. And it was kind of inspiring, it was a bunch of people in their golden years, and for them to be able to go out and look for love, and they didn't give up on it. So it was kind of inspiring, and sparked a little interest in it. And then they came out with the Golden Bachelorette. And it was great. It was a wonderful opportunity to go on and try and find that for myself.
So I think one of the things that I wondered after watching your time with Joan was, if you had made it to hometowns, what would that date have looked like? And I imagine Joey and Kelsey would have been a part of it. But did you have something planned and then you just didn't get to do it?
Well, what would we do? I'd kind of want to go to a few spots around New Orleans because there's so much to explore there. I'd probably start out at the place where Kelsey told my son Matthew and I that she was going to be on The Bachelor. We were just sitting in having a little drink, and she said, "Well, I've got some news," and that's when she told us that she was going to be on the show. So I'd probably start there. And go to a few spots that we usually go to every time we'd go down to visit Kelsey in New Orleans, and there's quite a few places we go to quite regularly. And then just kind of meet the family is the big thing, I'd wanted my brother, my mom, my sister-in-law, and my kids. It would have been a good time.
So, Mark, when I spoke with you at Men Tell All right afterwards, you had told me that you never watched the show and you didn't want to ask Kelsey or Joey about anything, and you only had one question for them. So tell the people what that question was, and why was that something that kind of stuck with you?
So, it was my experience to experience. So I didn't really want to ask, I didn't want to ask Joey. I didn't want to ask Kelsey what to expect, because it was just going to be my new experience, just like everyone else. So the question that I did ask Kelsey was, did I need to bring towels? Because I was kind of packing all my stuff. You got to have casual clothes, rose ceremony suits and all that. It's like my looming question was, do I have to bring towels because I'm running out of space in my suitcase? And she was like, "No, Dad, you don't have to bring towels."
They got you covered at the mansion, right?
Yeah.
And when you got to the mansion, Mark, I mean, was it everything you could have expected it to be? I mean, I think watching the men tell all last night, there was so many good moments with you guys, and it was certainly different than a typical men tell all that we see in a typical Bachelor or Bachelorette season. And I think the thing that just stands out is just the genuineness and the friendship and how much you guys really care for each other. And not to sound cliche, it's like you've become brothers for life.
Absolutely, we are. You know, it was for me personally, you know, in my own personal arena, like that was just the most healing. It was just wonderful. I could never have imagined such an environment where I just felt so safe and so open. That it was great. Like everybody was fantastic.
When you got there night one and you started meeting these guys, was there anyone you were nervous about, or did you guys all just gel right away?
Well, like I didn't know what order we were arriving in. So when I walked in, you know, I met Joan. It was middle of the night, you know, and I walked into the mansion, and it opens up and there's like guys standing everywhere. And I was, you know, it was a little bit, there's a lot of people here, you know, these guys are all here. And so I looked around the room and I kind of said hello to a few people, but I was a little bit nervous about it because I was afraid that somebody would say, "Oh, you're Kelsey's dad," you know. And it was smooth sailing. I got outside, I got to the bar, and I was ordering up a drink, you know, just calm the nerves. And somebody walks up. It's Keith, right? Like big looming Keith walks up and he says, "You know, I was wondering when you were going to show up." So the cat was out the bag, you know, and I was like, "Oh, don't tell anybody." But Keith knew everything about, like, he knows everything Bachelor. And so a lot of questions were going to Keith nonstop about, well, what about this? What about that?
That's so funny. We saw, obviously, as the show went on, the bromances, and some of the guys that you were close with, including Charles. And then last night, or, you know, during the Men Tell All, we saw that you had a really good bond with Jonathan. Talk to me about what kind of spurred the Post-it notes that you wrote and gave to him. What was there a specific moment? Was it just something in general that you wanted him to know? Like, was it something he was going through? You were going through?
Well, it was, you know, we would sit down. It was like the largest therapy session you could ever imagine, you know. Yeah. But we'd sit down in groups. There'd be couch talks, you know, where we'd all be sitting around talking and sharing stuff. But then there was also the like one-on-one conversations. And the one-on-one conversations would get pretty deep, you know. And Jonathan and I, we had, you know, had a pretty big conversation during the day. And it was just something that, you know, I wanted to convey to Jonathan, just to share something with him, you know. So I wrote a note, you know, and in hopes that it would help him because I had something very similar for myself. And it was just that self-affirmation of, you know, you are great, you know, you can do things. And just to get through some self-affirmations, I wrote some stuff down for him. And I just wanted to share that with him in hopes that, you know, it'd help him through a certain little period of time. It was a small thing I could do, and I just felt like doing it. So,
and you helped him through his healing process, and you referenced your own healing process. Was there a part of you, obviously a big part of you, thought you were ready for what was to come with Joan, but when you saw things like the hummingbird, and there were things that kind of harkened back to your wife, was there a part of you that said, maybe I'm not ready for this because I'm still processing everything that's happened with her? And conversely, how much of a better place are you in now after experiencing everything you went through on the show?
Yeah, it's, you know, life's full of lessons, you know, and if you don't listen to those lessons and learn from those lessons, you know, how are you going to get past things? So for me, I thought I was in a good place. But once I got there, I realized how much more how much more there is to experience. You know, like I grew up in the military, and sharing emotion is not something that's normally done. It's just, you know, a time and a place kind of thing. And being at that mansion was the time and it was the place. And like, it just helped me internally, you know, to not fear sharing, to not fear emotion, to not fear, you know, sharing what I feel, what my thoughts are, because it not only helps me, but it can help someone else. And to see that and experience that, it was incredible. And all of those men in that mansion were just so fantastic and open and safe. And the environment was just so conducive to just healing. And it did. Like I came out of that, you know, just unimaginable, how much that helped me.
Okay.
I could have never guessed that it would have helped me that much.
So you're in a good place, and I think we've been seeing pictures of you with Barbara Woods. Are you guys dating, or are you dating around, or what's the status? Can you share?
I mean, I was invited to a Halloween party. You know, there was an open invitation for a Halloween party, and you know, it's interesting how one picture is more than you know. There's plenty of pictures of me with other people. But yeah, I mean, it's really neat. I got to talk with her, and she's just a wonderful person.
So not an item yet?
The silence speaks volumes, Mark.
Oh,
That's what I'm saying. Yeah. Also, welcome to Hollywood, where one picture can tell 1,000 stories. Whether they're right or wrong, it doesn't really matter.
and yeah, you know, you finally, or I mean, I'm not used to that. I mean, but there's just, you know, so many different people that have taken pictures, you know, in airports, and you know, in the middle of a shopping, you know, excursion or something. But it's neat, you know. I guess I'm learning to navigate that.
How have Kelsey and Joey helped you? I mean, there's been a lot of spotlight on their relationship as well, especially now that he's, you know, doing so well on Dancing with the Stars. You know, everything is just dissected. What have they taught you? What have they told you about kind of how to navigate this new visibility when it comes to your life and especially your dating?
Well, it's, you know, I think anywhere you are, you know, you have to be kind of cognizant of what's going on around you, and you can't know everyone and everything in a picture, you know. You know, and every time I'm with Kelsey and Joey, like we'll go out to eat or something, or we'll be walking around somewhere, and it's nonstop people, you know, that want to, I'm sorry for interrupting, but you know, and it's so comforting to watch them and their reaction, because they're always so inviting. They're, you know, absolutely, you know, and they engage in conversation, they get a picture, and then we'll get back to talking about what we were talking about, you know. And it's interesting. Not, you know, I don't come from a you know, entertainment background where that's anywhere near normal in life, right? But it's just something you have to learn about, you know. I mean, you just have to accept it, and to interrupt something, and it takes 2 seconds, you know, to be kind and to be gracious to someone, and yeah, a picture is nothing, you know. Like it's a moment in a split second in time, so it's really not a problem for a picture. It's never a problem for someone to say, "Oh, we greatly enjoyed this show," or to hear that, you know, something that was said on the show, or an experience that was shared, that it mattered to someone else. You know, that was the whole, when I watched the Golden Bachelor, it was an inspiration for me. So for me, if someone, you know, finds anything, you know, from watching the show that helps them, then, you know, it's great. Like that makes me feel good. You know, I appreciate that. that's kind of one of the reasons why I was there, I think.
And everybody was happy to have you on the show. And you were in this rare position that because of your, frankly, your adornment from fans on Kelsey's season, you came into this already as a public figure into this season, and not being one of the main people, but rather one of one of 24 on this show. Despite that status, did you feel extra pressure to perform, put on a good show, I guess, put on a good face in that season because you are Kelsey's dad and everybody already knew who you were coming into the Golden Bachelorette?
Not any extra pressure that I wouldn't have already put on myself. Like I wanted to, you want to represent yourself in a good light. But if I'm just being myself, then it's all good. So, going into it saying, I'm myself, this is who I am. I want to put that best foot forward, but that best foot forward is my foot forward. So, I can't be someone else that I'm not. And if I'm not a good fit, if I'm not the right person, to connect with, then, that's just the way that works out. It's like, that's life, right? If I'm not the right pick, if I'm not someone's pick, then someone else is.
So it didn't work out with Joan, and everyone just loves you and they want to see more of you. Is that going to be possible? Would you ever consider doing either the Golden Bachelor and being the lead on the show, or maybe if they end up doing like a Golden Bachelor in Paradise or something like that, where you get to go party on the beach with friends?
Who would say no to that?
You better not say no to that, Mark.
Yeah, I don't know how anybody could say no to that. Like a beach and a bunch, like to get back with these guys again. If any of those men from the Golden Bachelorette were on that, absolutely.
What about being the lead?
The lead?
Yeah, being the Bachelor.
To think of, yeah, absolutely. I'm thinking about it, right? Like, is that something that I'm ready for? Because that's a pretty big step. It was to stand when we do these rose ceremonies and to stand in front of Joan and see her make eye-to-eye contact with every man that was standing in that room. And you could see the strain on her face. Like she's making decisions as she's going through. That's a tough one. And it's things like that where you build a relationship with someone and then you have to evaluate that and figure out which one is best. It's a difficult, I don't really have a whole lot of dating experience, period. So it's just, how would I process that is something that's something I'm already thinking about. Like, how would I be able to do that? Is that something I could do? So, there's a lot to it to say yes, I think.
One thing just on that, one thing people have asked me, just as someone who covers this show, is about the age situation. Joan was 61 when she was taping the show. Gary, when he did it, was 70. You're younger than that. You're 58. Do you feel like, is it quote unquote golden if you were to do this, or like, is it maybe like now, like in a few years from now? Like, what do you think about kind of the golden aspect of becoming the Golden Bachelor? You feel like right now it's your golden years? Like, how do you feel about that?
Well, I guess it depends on the morning, right? Some mornings I feel a little bit more golden than others.
Same. We feel you on that, Mark.
So, I don't know. I think, what is golden? Is there a definition somewhere of says that this is the age where your golden years start? If I can sign up for AARP at 55 and get a free cup of coffee somewhere, does that make me golden? I don't.
When you think about it, and we know you have to get going. When you think about your golden years and what you want the rest of your life to look like, this show, as we've said, is kind of giving you a new lease on life. Well, how do you envision your future? What kind of partner do you want? What would be Mark's best life here going forward?
Yeah, that's a list I started making, like what is it exactly that I want? Before going on the show, like the hardest thing I've ever done was to go ask my children, is it okay for me to date? Like that's a hard question. It's a hard question. It was a hard question for me to ask. And I can only imagine that it was a hard question for them to be asked and to answer, but to explain to them, I'm not trying to replace their mother, that can never happen. Am I ready for someone in my life? Yeah, I am. My heart is open. And I know that Denise will forever be in my heart. She will always have a section, but my heart's growing. There's more room. There's plenty of room. And, I just look forward to finding that someone that I can give that heart to.
And you touched the hearts of so many in Bachelor Nation. And Mark, we have no doubt that love for you is just around the corner. And we're looking forward to seeing you somewhere down the road in Bachelor Nation. We have a feeling this is not the last we are going to see of you. But again, man, we can't thank you enough for being here today. And we wish you nothing but the best of luck.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Well, listen, if we didn't love Mark before, I think we fell even more in love with Mark, who was just as genuine, just as kind, and just an all-around incredible guy. Everything we saw from him on the show, ladies, was magnified in this interview he just did with us.
I think that's something that makes him so special, and all of these guys, frankly, from the Golden Bachelorette, every single one that we've talked to and had the opportunity to speak with has just been incredibly genuine, and they were who they were on the show.
Yeah, and that also showed through, obviously, in Men Tell All. We all got to see it in a collective. And, I really love the fact that, they all have these great friendships, this brotherhood. That was obviously seen throughout the show, and definitely, they put a magnifying glass on it at Men Tell All. I especially I asked Mark that question about Jonathan and those notes, because it was one of the more emotional moments for me at this episode. And I got to talk to Jonathan about it afterwards. So let's hear what he had to say.
The moment where you were talking about the note that Mark left for you in the coffee cup, I was like, okay, we're just going to cry back here. That's all. We're just going to be crying. It's going to be great. Talk about, because it was something we didn't see. So talk to me about being able to, feeling how you felt about revealing that moment. It's such a vulnerable moment and beautiful moment.
Yeah, on one part, the first part of the post-it was, Mark he didn't know that he was going to be continuing his journey. So my heart went out to him. And then the other things that he shared to me on that post-it was like, oh my God. Here I am still sleeping in bed, which I'm normally wake up in the morning, have my coffee and doing my prayer meditation. He was up before me. He took the time to write this note out. Something that he saw in me, that he shared, really, really made me feel special. Started this process of wanting to be seen by Joan, and to think at this moment I'm being seen by another man was really, really special for me.
But also in this episode, you revealed, it was almost like you buried the lead that you've got a lady. What? This is amazing.
Well, yeah, it's something new, it's fresh. We're both happy, and she knows I'm part of this process, and so she's had her moments of being uncomfortable, seeing me confess, my wooing Joan and kissing Joan, and so yeah, it's all fresh and new.
You're like, babe, that was a while ago. It's okay.
Right. Yeah,
that's a long time ago. We're good now.
Yeah.
So Jonathan, that was the big takeaway, that he has someone now in his life, and Joan had a big smile on her face. The crowd loved it. And another guy who deserves nothing but the best, Gina, and he certainly seems happy with where he's at right now in his life.
Yeah, it's funny because throughout the season, we were kind of like, okay, is he ready for this? Is he ready to kind of be vulnerable and fall in love and do all that? Because he was so hesitant to kind of break down his walls. And here it is now, after the show, he has a lady, and that's great. And I think that, things like, the reassurance from these guys and from Joan that he is enough and he is good, I think that really helped him. So good luck to him. I'm so happy for him.
Yeah, and Jen, I think too, in regards to the notes, that kind of took us. There wasn't many surprises from this Men Tell All. Frankly, it was a lot more toned down than ones we've seen in the past, to say the least. But I thought that note episode, or the note moment, really kind of drove home the point how incredible that house was and how much these guys just genuinely pull for each other.
I mean, I can't even imagine, like, my dad's around their age group. I can't imagine what it's like for Kelsey to see all of that, and see that side of her father if she hadn't seen so much emotion before. He's so special and just uplifting to all those men. And I think they really appreciated having them in the house. And we saw that when he left, like how it affected everybody when he was eliminated by Joan. But I also, on the note of Jonathan, I'm glad he's in a relationship, but also I'm kind of bummed we don't get to see that relationship play out in real time, like on the show. Like, okay, so would he go to Paradise maybe as a special guest, I guess? And he's got let's just be honest, he's probably got the best body out of everybody in the group, right?
Well, now wait a minute.
If we're talking about the beach, he's beach ready.
Guy may have something to say about this. I think he's the one. So.
We don't know if he's the one. And listen, one of the other guys that we really loved, and we talked to him last week, was Charles. And Gina, you were there for the taping. I think he may have gotten the biggest round of applause of the night was when Charles was introduced.
Between Charles and Joan, Charles was, he's a changed man, obviously. He did get the biggest, round of applause. People are so happy for him. I will say, seeing his piece back of like all the, his journey back with all the Charles moments in one setting, I was in tears. I'm like, what is happening right now? It was so much. It was so emotional because he really is. Joan called him just like the most pure man, like the most innocent man. Like, he's lovely. And, for him, he's just great. And here's a little bit of my conversation.
Watching this season, first of all, has just been so much fun and so much joy. Your journey, I think, has brought me the most joy. So tell me what this journey has been like now that you're looking back at it.
Yeah, I think this journey, it's a kind of turning point for me. When I recall back those kind of sad days, it was very, very hard for me to move on. Yet, this time I had this kind of lifetime-changing opportunity. I had a lot of conversations with Joan, either in group dates or one-on-one, that really changed my way of looking forward to my new life in the future. So that's one thing. Secondly, with encouragement and help through our teammates, that's also is a big plus help. So when you combine all those, engagement, sharing sad stories or looking forward to the future, it's a great experience, and I'm very grateful to this opportunity.
What has it been like? Because I feel like we've talked to some of the other guys where they said the kind of fame part of it and people recognizing them has been interesting and different. So what's it been like for you?
Well, this time it's a little bit unique. I was away for quite a few weeks, traveling due to original plans. So I learned something, what is going on, here and there, but not the whole picture yet. But I think my guess, why so many fans, like me or love me, I think just be myself, open up my heart, and any kind of journey where you are in, there can turn out to be, different directions.
When you were on the show, you told Joan that, your wife was the first woman you dated, the first woman you married, the only woman you've loved, and now, this was like the second opportunity for you. So tell me, like, what has Joan and your marriage to your wife, what has it taught you, like, that you want in a relationship?
Okay, first of all, I was in sad mood in the first few years. Second, also, I was concerned what my kids would think about if I, move on, or my relatives would think about me. So I had more concern for other people rather than to myself. Yet, since I joined this journey, everybody's talking, and we all conclude it's okay to be sad, but it's also okay to move on. So I think that was the strong message really taught me. Yeah.
So now are you looking? Are you open to finding someone else? What kind of woman are you looking for?
Okay, this is a good question. In the last few weeks since I was away, from the States, now after this town hall, I'll go back, sit down, relax, sort out my thoughts, and I think I should plan to move on. Yeah. Hope I could give you an answer in a couple of months.
Charles is definitely in charge, and I love the moment in the audience where they said that they had, what did they say? They had somebody they wanted to hook them up with?
The woman's mom.
Yeah, the woman's
she said, everybody wants you to be the Golden Bachelor, but if not, my mom's single. I'm like,
hey,
oh, that's bold.
Yeah, right? Jen, is there a world where Pascal could be the Golden Bachelor?
Not in my world.
We get it.
I like him, but is he the lead candidate? Because we don't know who Joan's going to eliminate out of the top two. So maybe it could be one of the top two guys. We don't know. But I just feel like if he wasn't ready, and then Gina, I think you have a lot to say about, you touched on it with Mark. Like, is it golden? Because Pascal is more golden than Mark. He's a 70?
70, yeah. I think he's 70 years old.
Almost 70? Or he is, no, he's in his 70s, I think, isn't he?
No, I think he was the oldest in the house. I think he's about to turn 70. So, yeah.
Maybe the most youthful spirit as I stick up for my guy, Pascal, in the house.
He has a type, right, Gina? He likes some younger ladies.
He does. I actually talked to him about that. I talked to him about Joan. I talked to him about if he would ever be the Golden Bachelor and like what his lady would be like. So let's listen to what he had to say about that.
Knowing, obviously, the journey now, the timetable of it. I know, and it does go by fast. Obviously, there are a lot of people who are like, maybe he could be a good Golden Bachelor. Knowing what the process is that something you would consider?
I got to get more detail on it. I got to find out a little bit more involved. I am semi-retired and I have the freedom of the world, and I'm financially secure, so I could escape anytime I want. But I want to know how much involvement it is into it, because I know it's time-consuming. And if it's presented to me, I'll look into it. I'll ask questions. I'll get educated about it, and if it's something I can do, why not? I've always been the predator. I've never been the prey. I've always been the one who goes and get what I want. The one who's been chosen among 13 guys. So, I know women because that's what I do for a living. I'm with women all day long. So, we'll see. It's. We put the carriage before the horse. There now, there is a lot of great guys, and I don't know who's going to be I don't know. They'll have to come up and talk to me about it more and more detail of what is involved, and then if it's something I could do, I will consider.
I'm hoping Pascal is going to be the next Golden Bachelor. We had the Golden Bachelorette make an appearance last night. And, she admitted what we all had spoken about in previous weeks, that she felt like there was a future, Jen, with her and Pascal. And I think, again, she saved him for last on the group dates because she wanted him to kind of leave that lasting final impression. It didn't happen. But again, Joan's feelings about Pascal were brought to the surface in the men tell all.
Yeah, I think he wanted a fun time. I don't think he was ready to commit. I think maybe he wanted to be, maybe he thought he could get there, but it became evident that he wasn't ready.
Yeah, but I think that, something that he told me in our interview was that he's used to going after what he wants and like used to being the predator, not the prey, is what he called it.
Did he really the exact words?
Yeah. So,
wow.
So being the Golden Bachelor for him, I don't know. I don't know if that'll work out.
I feel like
Joan?
he'd turn Juan Pablo on us or something.
The bar is high for Pascal.
Oh, wow.
Although kinder. He's definitely
Yeah,
kinder.
absolutely.
Yeah,
Come
I
on
do
now.
think
He's not a
that.
jerk.
Well,
No, I don't think he's a jerk. I think that
he's honest. Let's put it that way. He is
To a
honest.
fault.
honest almost to a fault. Yeah.
Yes.
I
He
think
could
that's the
cushion
case.
his statements a little bit more.
Yeah, exactly. And, if that were to be the case and he were to be the Golden Bachelor, I think that would be worked on. But that's beside the point. Let's talk about Joan, because she, first of all, when she walked out in that dress, everyone was like, whoa. And every guy that came back to talk to me was like, how beautiful did she look? So that's number one. She told me, she talked to me about the Pascal situation, and just gave me a little teeny tease about what's to come in the finale. So let's listen to what she had to say.
Let's talk about Pascal, because the moment, that we saw when he told you that he was not ready, and he was gonna leave. Just take me back to that moment for a moment and just talk to me about how you were feeling kind of before and now seeing it. How you're feeling now that not as you've had time to,
Yeah. So, I knew that date that day was uncomfortable. So we had this Tahitian bonding ceremony. It felt a bit wedding-like. I felt uncomfortable. I could definitely see that he felt uncomfortable, and I kind of felt like his walls were going up. I knew things were different after that. I came in there feeling pretty hopeful. When I left there, I knew something had happened. I knew that something in him had changed. So we came into that evening date, and I was worried. I didn't think that he was going to self-eliminate. I thought that we were going to end up in the fantasy suite and kind of having the come to Jesus talk. And that, we were either going to figure it out or he was going to go home during that evening. But he came in kind of with his mind already made up. And I know that was really hard for him, because I've been doing that the whole season. I've had to say goodbye to people that I've really cared about. And he had to do it to me. And I know how hard it is, and I wanted him to not feel like he was hurting me. My feelings were hurt, but this is part of the journey, and I knew that was a possibility. But I want him to be happy, and he shouldn't, choose me because he thought it would make me happy. He needs to do what's right for him, and so, I respect him for it, and I want him to be happy. He's my friend now, and that's great. It's perfect. It's where we should be.
The tease we see going into the final, you talk about how you'd only loved one person and now another. So tell me what you can tell me about that night, or about that episode, about things leading into it and making your decision.
Yeah. So when I talk about, I fell in love a million times this season. Actually 24 of them. These guys were amazing, and going into that ending, I wanted to come out with one person that I was in love with. I didn't want to have that internal struggle, but this is an emotional journey, and it's hard to keep your feelings at bay and not fall in love with more than one person. And so, like all Bachelor journeys, this was an emotional one, and there were a lot of tears, and in the end, there were some happy tears.
So that was our Golden Bachelorette, and we'll talk about the finale here in just a couple other fun moments, I thought, from the Men Tell All. How about the one moment that we didn't see when Pascal was doing the meditation? And he said he'd never done a meditation before. And those guys are doing the and doing the Joan.
And the sound bath with the pep.
The sound bath, that whole thing was so good. That was a great moment that I wish they would have put in the episodes.
Yeah, it was good.
At least we got to see it now.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And I really liked that it was just such an uplifting episode, even for a Men Tell All, where usually it's very dramatic and there's a lot of fighting and bickering amongst the younger crowd. But in this, it was like the drama was traded for fun and fun moments that we got to see.
And certainly, Gina, Keith provided some of those as well when you spoke to him.
Yeah, absolutely. Just getting back to the drama of it all. Jesse even said in the show that it was kind of like the least dramatic Men Tell All episode or season. And, the one thing that he did say, the one moment of drama was Burgergate. So that moment of levity, bringing the burgers out, and the Jack moment with, cooking the burgers and everybody, you know, getting some, and Jesse eating on camera, which is something, what did he say he would never do?
Well, he was the one who started the eating on camera, he told us, in his season. So it's gone full circle.
And it was why they couldn't eat anymore. It was because of him.
Yeah, right.
Was scarfing a burger down, which, by the way, they didn't bring into the press area. Not good.
They have some nerve.
I know, right? But back to Keith, we actually also had a little food moment. But what I liked about Keith, you know, you'll see that in a moment. And there's just some other like kind of uplifting moments that I spoke to Keith about. So let's listen to that.
Good to see you. You were so much fun to watch throughout this whole season. And I think, and it's tonight especially, okay, first of all, the fact that you were just like, I'm open to beach, wine, and charcuterie to let it be out there.
That is out there. I call me, hit up my DMs. I mean, no, I didn't find love. The one thing I learned from the show is I'm going to open myself up to more options, I would say. And that doesn't mean date more women, but it's just look at life in a little, maybe a little different way, and not just keep in my little cubby hole and date here, a little here, a little there, but maybe try to just put myself out there a little more.
So how different, like, how are you putting yourself out there? Now that you've been back, how are you putting yourself out there? Besides, obviously, propositioning the audience tonight.
That just slipped out. I don't know where that came from.
It was good. It was good. It was a good moment.
Okay. No, but it's more people are actually trying to set me up. I've never been a big app guy, and so I'm trying to listen to friends and family, and just they go, hey, have you ever thought about her? Or, hey, I've got a friend that I'd like to set you up with. So instead of just, I don't like getting pictures either, because I don't want to see them first. I want to know about them and then meet them, because I think people judge off of pictures way too fast when they look at for a date and they go, I don't want to go out with her or him, be what it may. But the person could be awesome. Personalities amp up the likability of a person so huge. So yeah, I'm just trying to listen to more people, and just try to, instead of just hang out with my buddies sometimes, I'm gonna go out on a date instead.
There you go. I mean, ladies, if you're listening, hello. The DMs are open is what he's saying. Talk to me about tonight, because obviously, like, the boys, the bromance is amazing. Joan is amazing. Just talk about being in this room tonight with everybody.
So I told everybody it was great. I've seen Dan, Jordan, Mark, Gil, Jonathan, Jack, Gary outside of the show already. So I mean, we're already had to go through the whole list. But having us all together in one room and just shooting the and just talking with each other and reminiscing about old times is always a good thing. But the thing that made tonight most special is all of the family members that were in the audience tonight. Because now when they came in during the mingle time, they were able to, meet Mark, the guy that I talk about, meet Jordan and hear his humor or whatever. And because he's abusing me already in front of my daughters. I'm like, dude, you can be nice to me for 2 seconds. But but that's what they've heard is, why I like some of these individuals, the Pascals in life, and why I like him, and he's got such a big heart. So it's very cool for the kids to see the people that I've built a relationship with.
You can tell Jordan, for me, deep dish is not pizza.
I agree. God, deep dish is not pizza. I lived in Chicago for a year and a half, and then somebody told me to try Detroit pizza now, and I still think that's too thick. I go, I'm a New York kind of guy, but California even has, you go pizza my slice, but it's a thinner crust, and I just go that route.
Yeah, no, the minute he saw that, I'm like, is this how you're impressing her? Seriously? Like, deep dish? No.
That's just, you're just eating sauce at that point. God, it's so gross.
In a bread bowl, but that's beside the point. That's beside the point. Let's talk about kind of just...
Make sure you put that out there, that Jordan, deep dish is not a pizza. Okay.
Keith was certainly one of our favorite characters, and the guy who got the first impression rose, let's not forget. And now we get to the final rose. And how do we foresee this finale playing out? I mean, they kind of tease us that there's some drama, of course, and Joan not feeling lovable again. And Jen, what did you make of our final teaser trailer?
I think Nancy's going to have to pull her out of her doldrums and feel like, the special woman that she is. And Guy and Chock are going to have their work cut out for themselves. They're going to have to impress Joan's family, whoever she decides to bring on that trip to Tahiti.
Bora, no less. This is
the
best location for a finale, in my opinion.
I mean, that is quite the trip.
And Gina, she said that she's now fallen in love for the second time, and that tells you where her head is at.
Yeah, I mean, and she did mention to me in our interview that, you know, there were tears during the finale, but there were also some happy tears.
Happy tears,
So
yes.
that's a good thing. I have a feeling, and Jen, like you can probably, we'll do a little sleuthing, but I feel like the Nancy conversation was probably right after Pascal left. So I think that was probably still in Tahiti, location number 1 of amazingness. And then she goes on to Bora Bora, location number 2 of amazingness. So, I mean, I think that we're going to see a finale that is filled with beauty and hopefully a lot of really happy tears.
And hopefully a happily ever after. Predictions, I think it's got to be Chock. I really want it to be Guy just because I think it's so much more of a natural connection and he's not as, you know, in his pick-me mode like Chock is. I really want it to be Guy, but I just feel like it is going to be Chock when this is all said and done.
Maybe your opinion will change once you see the finale, Ryan. Maybe their interactions with her family will change your mind. I don't know,
Okay.
but
We'll see.
But I think I'm gonna pick Chock, but I kind of agree about what you're saying about Guy, that he's a little more like, pick me if you want to.
But I think they look great together, Gina.
They do.
I think they're a good-looking couple, you know. And
So is
think-
Chock.
Yeah, right. He's got those baby blues. I get it. But I just feel like when I see, you know, what a couple should look like, I feel like it's Guy and Joan.
Ken and Barbie.
Yeah, right. Ken and Barbie.
But I do feel like sometimes looks can be deceiving. And, you know, sometimes
People have told me that my whole life, Gina. Thanks for bringing that up.
no problem. That's what I'm here for, to
Now
bring
I
a
have
little
PTSD.
reality.
Yeah.
Reality into our talk about reality TV. But I do feel like, you know, look, you love who you love, and it doesn't matter whether, you know, it's what people think you should do or people think you shouldn't do. I think that's what we find on a lot of these, you know, these seasons. So it's going to be really interesting to see how it all plays out. Hopefully we are going to speak with Joan and her possible man next week. That is the hope. We're going to just put that in pencil until we see after the final rose. But I do feel like we could have a happy finale as opposed to last season with Jen where it ended in tears. We felt so bad.
I can't take it anymore. I can't take another one of those.
I am not. I have no tears. And to quote Ariana Grande, I have no tears left to cry. I'm done. I can't do it. I can't do any. I have no more tears. Or Ozzy Osbourne, no more tears.
There you go. I don't think we ever mentioned Ariana Grande and Ozzy Osbourne in the same sentence. That may be an all-time first for anyone.
I like to be a rule breaker.
You're doing a great job.
Yeah.
Listen, we're excited to get all aboard the crazy train, if you will, and get ready for the finale next week. A live finale, and then we have the after the final rose. So we will discuss all of that next week on your favorite Bachelor podcast. And what do they need to do, Jen?
Like and follow us. However you get your podcast, then you will see it appear and you can listen right away.
And we can't thank you all enough for your support, and it means a lot to all of us. We have a lot of fun bringing you all the latest and greatest from Bachelor Nation, and we will do so next week. For Jen and Gina, and especially our special guest, Mark, I'm Ryan. Thanks so much for being here. We will see you next week on the latest episode of Playing the Field.